All right, this is my actually this is like my 21st day of my fast. All right, but I like before my 21st day, like I think I'm in it now. But I did eat 4 hot dogs because I concluded my rest at the end of whatever day it was, like day 20. Because look, when I make up a decision, like I was saying before, I don't really give much thought to everything, all the details. I mean, I just roll on. But as I was rolling on, listen, I could not help but remember my last high regard and my sentiment for Ray Charles' song, which contains in it the message that as long as one of us are bound, none of us are free. And that's the lesson I learned when I looked at the historical data from the Nazi extermination camps. Like, I was already on my 19th day of my fast or something, or 17th day maybe, something like that. I'm not sure. But when I had the realization, I experienced the phenomenon of losing my appetite. After all them days of not eating, and I was kind of hungry, because you don't lose your hunger completely. I mean, you go through a death, and every subsequent death becomes like a little bit smaller. And that's the way it is when you're suffering. You have a big death, and then every subsequent suffering kind of death that you experience, dying, becomes a little bit smaller. And you become more familiar with it. It's not that big of a deal anymore. Like in the microcosm, so in the macrocosm, you can level it all out. And so I'm just saying, I couldn't escape from that feeling. So, look, I'm gonna play this little part right here.
None of us are free. None of us are free. One of us is chained. None of us are free. Feel free to stay safe.
Okay, I'm just leaving it there. See what I say. Okay, Blind Bee and the Mercenaries. None of us are free. Blind Bee and the Mercenaries. All right. Well, you know what? I had the realization because I was looking at it and noticed that the woman, me watching it, was on my left. All right. Like sometimes cameras reverse things around. Left is right and right is left and stuff like that. But when I was looking at it, the woman on my left, she looked a lot like Karen, kind of, actually, in my recollection. But she had long brunette hair, but she looked at me in the eyes. See, I was noticing that, I made the realization that, I will fall in love with a woman that looks me in the eyes. I don't want to fall in love with nobody else. Not if they don't look me in the eyes. It's kind of like Dracula. Say Dracula, like in the earliest movies, which I was privy to watch, when Dracula first came out, because I looked at Dracula by the time I was really little. On my dad's show and tell thing that he got me, had a stick about that long, and I put it in the top, I'd play the record, and it was something about Dracula's castle, I think, and put in the movie, the thing, and showed the pictures, one slide at a time, as the record was playing, but I seen the picture. And so I found out who Dracula was. And Dracula could hypnotize people by looking them in the eyes. See, that's how Dracula did that. He looked them in the eyes, and then they fall into a trance. Right? Something about, a person can hypnotize you by looking at you in the eyes. Right? Now, I don't know if the power is on the person doing the hypnotizing or the power is just in the procedure. I'm kind of thinking it might just be in the procedure. I ain't really, it's just some people figure out the procedures. Okay, with Dracula, he knew what the procedure was. And he could hypnotize, especially women, because he loved women and liked to bite them in the neck and suck out their blood. And he did it guys too. And I remember my mom used to watch a show called Dark Shadows. And that's when we were living with my brother's dad, actually. My mom got married to his dad, and they had a kid. And so he was my half-brother. Same mom, different dad. We lived with him for a while. He was kind of scary, man. Like, he chased us. I thought we were gonna die. Like, but we did some shit, man. Doing stuff with the hot water tank under the house. I mean, in the basement, starting, using the flame. It was gas to start a fire from a newspaper. Stuff like that, Look, man, we get into some shit. And I was older than my brother, but so I kind of knew more actually what was going on. And he got angry, man. I remember, like, burned in my brain just like a fire. Anyway, he liked to do it for fun anyway. He'd chase us and stuff like that and make us scared and everything just for fun. My mom said he had an evil eye. And that's what she told me, and I actually kind of knew that. I mean, when she told me evil eye, then I really understood, okay, then, that's what she calls it? Okay, that's what it's called. He had an evil eye. That's my brother's dad. Look, I remember going to his house, after I got older, and my brother was going to visit him. And I went to see him for a few days on one occasion, I remember, because he was kind of like my dad too, for a little while, kind of. I mean, I still always had my dad, my real dad. But I'm just saying that I went to see him one time, so I had the opportunity to understand at an early age a follow-up to the situation that I was coming to learn about. Well, I mean, his wife, who he got remarried to after he lost his job for the Holiday Inn, making a lot of money, and becoming a truck driver because that's all he could do after that, I don't know, hit him down. He was like a boxer. He's like, I don't know, it was Joe Frazier or Muhammad Ali. Not sure exactly how it worked. It was Muhammad Ali who got knocked out, or was Joe Frazier. One of them said to the other, in their arrogance, in their pride, standing up on top of the mountain of pride, he was saying, "I'm God, and I'm gonna knock you out," or something like that, or "I'm God, and I'm gonna something." I mean, I'm gonna decimate you. I'm God, and I'm doing that. I'm gonna do that to you now. That's what one boxer said to the other. Okay, and then the other boxer, who was the recipient of that message, hauled off and knocked the other one in the face, knocked him completely out. He fell on the floor and didn't wake up, which is kind of always good symbolization. If you mention the name of God, put something like, like God is on your side or something like that. Well, one of the 10 Commandments in the Bible is do not take the name of the Lord in vain. And that's exactly what that means. Okay, it ain't got nothing to do with saying, like, God damn it. No, that ain't really taking the Lord in vain. Okay, you don't want to say just like God damn it. Okay, I can say God damn it in my mantra. I would say God Almighty. Ain't much different than saying God damn it or God Almighty. Because they both mean the same thing. Only God has the power to damn. Any other person can say damn you, but okay, if they say God damn you, well, that's putting a position on God, see. And if you do that, then you better be willing to suffer the consequences if you're right or wrong. If you are right or wrong. So anyway, I'm just saying, okay, the thing is, I was looking, because I was recollecting strong feelings that I was having when I was thinking that if one of us is chained, none of us are free. And that's where I mostly make my stand, because, I will stand alone, but I will also be part of a team. Okay? But even every part of the team has to be willing to stand alone. And you stand alone, and in your solidarity, you stand with a bunch of other people that are standing alone too. That's where you get your solidarity from. A bunch of individuals, like eyes, coming together. All right? Yeah? All of them, man. Little and small and big. They all come together, whatever they are. And they stand as the letter I in solidarity. And they make one. One eye. Maybe that's what God's trying to do. Maybe God's trying to get all his units into alignment. And they all got to go through experiences to understand. They'll understand the proper evaluation of things. And stand as one in the letter I. We are one. As long as one of us is chained, none of us are free. If you don't stand, look, but certain things I can't even really want to revisit. But if you look at like the Sun Tzu when he chopped off the head of that woman, all right, because she was being careless, and you can't be careless. You got to understand that one wrong move can cost you your life. You can't be careless. You learn this in big ways, but then you also have to understand it in the microcosm. You learn it in the macrocosm, and then you got to understand the significance all the way down into the microcosm. And that's how you learn your lesson, from the top all the way to the bottom. That's what you call being thorough. And in the military, one of the first things, and you get judged on this throughout your whole time, and you're being part of the military, at least in America, it's this way, that, you will be judged from day one on military bearing. Military bearing. Your bearing. Okay, so you will have superiors that will look at you, and okay, you might say, well, what the hell does bearing mean? Your military bearing. You might laugh at it or something. Well, you better not laugh at it. And you won't be laughing at it very long. You'll understand what actually military bearing means. Because if you don't abide by military bearing, you're going to be beat down until you understand and gain a proper appreciation for military bearing. Okay? Loose lips sink ships. If you're careless, you don't have military bearing. You better have the proper regard. That's what I'm saying. Sun Tzu, he made this kind of stuff explicit, You gotta pay attention to every detail. You gotta pay attention to some of the stuff like you might be, hearing, him talk about the terrain and stuff. Well, you gotta understand, all right, that was his environment. He's talking about the terrain that he actually lived in. And every person has to understand the terrain that they live in, but the same spirit persists. And if you don't adopt the spirit of Sun Tzu, you make a mistake. Because he covered everything. And you got to cover everything. because those are barbarians. It may take on a different form in different time frames, but the barbarians are always going to be. Well, as far as I can see. I mean, I'm not saying there might come a time when God is at one and we have to fight no more. But, like, I'm not sure if that's actually ever going to be, if you really will look at it. What I'm saying is, when you're talking about looking at something, I don't know why it caught me so much, but that one woman on the left with the long brown hair, who I said reminded me of Karen, because, Karen, could, do certain thing with her eyes. And she could hypnotize you. I'm saying, she kind of hypnotized me. And I'm not really the one easy to be hypnotized, because I'm mostly in control of everything around me. I don't let nothing take the power over me. But I liked her, because, I don't know, she's pretty and stuff, I guess. But that's not really my point. My point is that I noticed that girl who just so happened to remind me of Karen, right? Isaac's mom. She was the only one actually that really spent a lot of time looking directly into my eyes. And even though I know with my TV, all right, it's still like a person looking into the camera. And she was looking into the camera like she was looking at another person. And, okay, so that's what it is. And she was looking at me. I was the recipient on the other end of the camera, on the projection, all right? And I noticed, I made the realization and the understanding in my own mind and in my thinking that, no, see, I understood, okay, like who attracts me? Yeah, the person that's looking me in the eye. It's not the person that's not looking at me in the eye. If you're not looking me in the eye, it's just like, it's like the hidden code, all right, of exposure, okay? You can't look me in the eye. I ain't gonna go into all of what that means, but it means stuff to me that I don't assimilate myself when people can't look me in the eye, because I'm just saying, I'm not gonna go into that anymore, because you have to understand it. If you don't, then I can't help you anyway, but if you do, then we have a thorough understanding of each other. That's all I'm saying. She's looking at me in the eye. No. Dracula can look you in the eye too, and he can suck out your blood. I'm not saying that was like Karen was like, but look, man, everybody's got a little bit of Dracula in them. That's why even, sometimes when you kill a mosquito, even a mosquito, they're sucking the blood right out of your skin, you understand, well, that's what mosquitoes do, and they can't help it. You might feel a little bit sad for them, but you can't help it, man. You still gotta kill a mosquito. Last night, man, I was itching my feet all night long. I had to take like 3 Benadryl. Got up, in 1 hour, took a Benadryl, and getting fit up still. Look, different things happen, Mosquitoes get in and stuff, Like they're too small for me to see, but they still are there. I can feel it, and I get bit, man. And I never actually did see them with my eyes, but I got bit. And so, 3 times I got up. Count Dracula. Oh. Well, they're not looking me in the eye, those mosquitoes. They're like the other 2 women, that don't look you in the eye. Well, the one that does look you in the eye, well, that's like Count Dracula. The other ones are just must be like little mosquitoes. Count Dracula, he can really do something. And he did in the story. Like I said, I used to watch it with a projector. My dad got me. And my mom used to like to watch Dark Shadows. And I would hide behind where the kitchen, and then the hallway, and then the living room's on their side. So there's like a little doorway kind of, that you could look in, and the living room was all open, so you could see a TV. And my mom would be watching Dark Shadows, and I'd look at it, from behind the corner. Okay, like I'm on the other side of the wall, but there's a corner for the doorway right there, like I'm looking just beyond the corner just to see over there, what she's looking at. And she's looking at Dark Shadows and something scary going on. and I'm like paralyzed, man. I can't go in, and I can't break my view either. Okay, like I'm paralyzed, like like I'm stuck. I can't not see what's happening. I can't do that to myself. I can't turn away from it. I never could turn away from it, but it don't mean I had to join it. I'm looking at it to see what it is. Well, I remember that, and see, I haven't changed. I know what this shit is, man. I know what what some of the secret stuff is, actually. I mean, like, as I say, some of it though, it wouldn't do any good. Like, it might not be better for me not to talk. I don't know. Loose lips sink ships. I'm not willing to die. My preacher told me, one of my preachers told me one time, because sometimes I have a propensity of dying on every cross. Thinking I won't really die. But he told me, you can't die on every cross. You gotta choose what cross you're gonna die on. Choose your cross. That's what he told me. Choose your cross. You're gonna die on this cross? No. There's a bigger cross you gotta die on, but it ain't this one. Alright. Look, man. I'm gonna call this one just Choose Your Cross. This is a postscript. And the big lesson for me, though, is that no, I think in the Bible, at least in the King James Version, because I have a concordance that shows me every time a word was used, and you can look up, like, for example, face, and you can look up every time that in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, the word face is used, and this guy named by last name of Strong's, compiled this, his life mission. All right. You can look up in the Bible every time the word face is used. Then you can look up in the Bible. You can look underneath that, rubric, all them times, and they'll give you the verses and everywhere. You can look it up in detail. All right. You can look up, you can read it, and you can see, well, how many times then does it say face to face? All right. So face to face is like two people talking to each other. Okay. And if my recollection is correct, which I think it is, I haven't, because I didn't actually know that I was going to say this until now, but I do believe there is 5 times in the Bible. I'm not sure if it's Old Testament. I'm not sure where they're all contained. There might be one in the Old Testament, not many. But I know in the New Testament there's at least a few. It says face to face. I think one of them, I'm just kind of guessing now, it might be in the book of Revelation, the last part of the Bible. Another one of them probably in one of the Gospels, okay? And one of them is probably in the epistles of Paul. And probably at least there's 3 of them there that all make a reference to face-to-face, whether or not it's a human being with God, seeing God face-to-face, or if it's 2 people seeing each other face-to-face. Or maybe it might be Jesus, who's representative of God, with somebody else face-to-face. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking 5 times, and haven't looked this up recently. Like I said, I could be wrong. It feels like it to me from past recollection. But there's something about looking at somebody face to face. See, look at your enemy in war face to face before you kill him, and you realize that, no, man, he looks just like me. But if you don't kill him, he's gonna kill you. You can't make, you can't make Like, you're just a pawn. You can't make changes. You can't, like, speak for the emperor. You can't speak for the president, You have to fall in line. Look, man, it's a hard decision for a human being that has to fall in line. But I didn't know what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about in this postscript to my conclusion of my journal, okay? What I'm saying, because I have to say it now, because I had to follow up on if one of us is chained, none of us are free by Ray Charles, okay? And I come across this here video. And the guy, he has a really deep voice, which I like. And then he had 3 women on there. All these people have different, like, pretty cool names. They're not, like, common names. Like, they're all definitely unique. Every part of the band, And this guy here, he's singing. I think he's one of the 2 singers. And they had other 3 lady singers for background singers. I'm talking about main singing, but they were background singers, and 3 women. One of them was always looking, like when I was looking at the video, she was one making eye contact with me, even though I do understand it's just TV. But I'm just saying, okay? And the other ones, they look, and they sing good, and I like the way they're singing and everything, but they're not, like, hypnotizing me. Like, no, man, I've got a serious connection here, a deep connection to my heart. That's a Bob Dylan song, Tight Connection to My Heart. Well, that's what kind of comes through sometimes in the eyes. That's why you look into somebody's eyes, they say, you can see into their soul. That's what they say. Like, I don't know, sometimes. But I do know, okay, people that have suffered a lot, well, okay, or if, like, they're dying, all right, you look into their eyes and you can actually see the emptiness. You can actually see it. Kind of hard to, like, describe. Like, okay, like you say, okay, well, their eyes are this color, they're shaped like this. They have these wrinkles around the eyelids or whatever, these eyelashes, these eyebrows, whatever you're looking at, Oh, well, you can give that description, but there's something deeper. You can actually see beneath the layer, and you can understand, because it's hard to actually describe because you can't really tell what difference it is, but it comes through, and it is an emptiness. It's like, digging your own grave. A lot of people throughout history, they've had to go, at gunpoint or whatever, and they dig their own grave before they get shot into it and then buried up. You dig your own grave. Well, I don't remember why I was talking about digging your own grave, but something to do with the deep wells that you can see into a person's heart from their eyes. Again, well, that point right there, that stands alone. All right, that's not even anything I'm talking about. That's just a side note, all right? But it's true, in my opinion. And that's how I know some things. I know some things by point people that stand alone. Well, one of them is the realization here that I just had about looking into a person's eyes, and I understood how you can fall into the gaze of your lover's eyes, your friend's eyes, if they look at you straight in the eye. You better look at people straight in the eye. You better look at, when you're shaking their hand, you look at them straight in the eye when you shake their hand, you squeeze their hand tight, okay? Firm grip, but do not break contact with their eyes. Make them look at you square in the eyes. If you're shaking their hand, you got to do that, because you got to know. You got to make that contact. That's just part of a secret code, unwritten language. It's hard to decipher, but you can understand the meaning of what it is. All right. So I'm making this postscript to my conclusion of my journal. It's that important. His postscript and his face-to-face. All right. Yeah. I know. I think maybe a couple of my grandchildren or something. Like they're diagnosed. Like a lot of other people in this era of time. With being on what they call the spectrum of well, starts with an A. I can't remember what the name of it is, but there's a certain spectrum of the way that people's brains are working, probably after being subject to certain like chemicals in society or something like that, and produce these kind of people. Well, whatever it is, I mean, there's a lot of these people, and it starts with the letter A, I'm pretty sure, and they measure it like on a spectrum. Some people that have this characteristic in today's society cannot look people like straight in the eye. I don't know why. I don't really know what that's all about. But if you are one of these people that have this, appointed for a time, because you are abnormally, like maybe by comparison, just like gay people are, just like other things that I talk about and I personify. Point man, okay? One of the gays and point man. Nothing wrong. I mean, it's like, I was saying, like, where I first learned about that was from Little Richard when he was rocking. He was like the king. I can't remember what it's called. But it's a spectrum of characteristics. Some of them can't look somebody in the eye. And Rain Man was a movie that came out. In fact, I was going to personify something, although I don't know a lot of people that have this phenomena at work within them, Like one of them, I know Asperger's starts with an A. I don't think it was Asperger's. I think Asperger's is like a form of whatever it is that I'm trying to talk about. And the thing is, all right, it has to do with like, I don't know why some of them, have a hard time looking other people in the eye. I really don't know what that's all about. But my advice is, if you are one of them that I'm talking to that have that characteristic and trait, well, make it a conscious effort to make sure that you start looking in people's eyes so you can understand and they can understand you. That's what it is, face to face. 5 times in the Bible, face to face is used. I could be wrong, and if I am, I apologize. Same as me, if I remember right. Because I know I was particularly interested in that a long time ago. Before I ever knew about all this other stuff about like face-to-face avoidance and stuff like that. Well, I always look people face-to-face. Even the Regos, no, man, I looked them face-to-face. I study their every move, man. Every move of their eyeball or eyebrow. That's why Karen, she had really good control of her face. Like, so I'm just saying. What she could do, like that. Like, I can't even come near her doing it, Okay? I can't do it. I'm just saying, all right. Some people can. They got that much control. Well, I don't know. When I saying how I realized that lady with the brown brunette long hair on None of Us Are Free by the Blind Bee and the Mercenaries. None of Us Are Free, May 2020. When I observed that, I realized, no, I have to make a postscript to my journal. And so it is, face to face. And my advice is, because I will relentlessly forever continue this motif in my heart and my mind and in my life of action, that I will never not look at me or my enemy or anybody else if not face to face. Now, in the, I think it was in Japan, you know, I remember seeing that, like, if you look at people walking down the road or something like that, see, it's in their culture that they don't look anybody in the eye. No, they don't look at nobody in the eye because I think like that's a form of aggression. And dogs too, if they see like another dog, like they can tell how the dog is looking at them in the eye. And I don't think it's just looking at a person in the eye, because you can look at a person in the eye and their eyes can say, okay, no, I'm submissive. I will be submissive if they're looking at you in the eye. Some people get angry if you don't look at them in the eye. All right, but some people, if you look at them in the eye, they think that you're trying to, like, you know, like be superior or be more powerful than them or challenge them. And this happens with dogs and all other beasts. And it just happens that I learned a lot from my dogs, because I got a lot of different dogs and they all act differently and they all understand different things. That's why I have to make some music about my dogs, because they're great. Now, even dogs and other beasts understand what it is to look at another face to face. All right? Well, and I'm just saying, it looked to me like this one woman in particular, even though it's just TV on this video, she looked at the camera in such a way that it was face to face with me, and I understood that, and now I know, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because of the power of Dracula. Not just the power of Dracula, the power of God, man. God is going to look at every one of us face to face. And you're going to look at God face to face. It says that in the Bible. We shall see face to face. Somebody else is going to be looking at you face to face, and you're going to be looking at God face to face. Maybe God is yourself. Maybe you are God, just on another plane. And you're gonna, you know, lay your cards on the table in the big game. And everybody's gonna know what cards you held. And then they're gonna know why you acted the way you did. And it's gonna be face to face. All right, bye.